All right, everyone. The lab this week asks you to map and work with some SNOTEL data, which stands for Snowpack Telemetry Network. Think of it as the premier snow data catalog of the United States. And it runs across the whole US. And the idea is that I want you to visually show me how a state of your interest, or maybe a few places of your interest, are doing as far as snowpack is concerned in 2026 on the date that you do the lab. So I want to show you how we're going to get that data downloaded and how we're going to play with the data and data wrangle it to prepare for the lab. So what I did was I just searched SNOTEL data download on Google, and this first option is SNOTEL historic data from the USDA. So we're going to click that. And then here it's going to immediately ask you if you want to select a state and download some historic data, but instead we're going to hit interactive map. And this is already showing the percent of median that we're sitting at. So in other words, today, Red Mountain Pass has 51% of the historic median snowpack for February 14th between 1991 and 2020. So for that 30 years, we are at currently 51% of what we would normally have on February 14th. That's the way to think about it. But this is an unwieldy map, and there's a lot of it. So what I want you to do is if you go up here to selected stations, you can hit export site data as CSV, and you can also click view on the metadata report if you want to see that. And it's going to give you this snow water equivalent February 14th end of day. So again, that's export site data as CSV, and that's what it's going to give you. I also clicked on view metadata. We'll let that load for a moment, but let's go ahead and load up that CSV file that we just downloaded. So this is the CSV, and notice it's pretty big, pretty complicated. Lots and lots of lines, lots and lots of data, but we only are going to map some of this. So first things first, let's ask ourselves, are there pieces of this data we don't care about? Are there things that we don't want? Honestly, in a situation like this, it might be easiest to leave the data alone and filter in QGIS. So for right now, all I'm going to do is go by the state that I want to go by. So I'm just going to click the first row here, click all the values, and I hit data, and I'm going to hit filter, and that's going to add a filter. And I'm just going to filter by only Colorado. All right, so to do this, I'm just going to select my whole data set here. And then this is sort of a trick. This isn't an Excel class, but it'll help you. So I have a lot of lines that are hidden right now because I filtered by only Colorado. But if I select all of this and then copy, sometimes it won't only copy the visible lines. It'll copy all of the hidden ones too. In this case, it doesn't look like that happened. But what you can do is you can select your whole data set. And then if you just hit Alt semicolon, it'll select only the visible lines. And then I can Control C, and I can paste it somewhere new. And then I can just real quick add name. I can add the whole header column, Just pop that in there. Awesome. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit Save As, and I'm going to call this Colorado SWE Feb 14, 2026. Keep it as a .csv, and I'm just going to put it in my class folder. And I'm only going to save just the active sheet that I was on, the one that I copied. So I'm just going to put this down for now. Go over to QGIS, and I'm going to start a new project. Okay, so then I'll just go to Layer, Add Layer. It's going to be my delimited text layer, right? And then I'm going to click on the file that I just created. It's already identified my X and Y fields. They were the ones labeled latitude and longitude. And then it's put it into the correct CRS. In this case, we have lat and long, so it's really nice that it plays well with kind of anything. And then it's kept every other piece of that CSV as an attribute. So I'll hit add, and there are my SNOTEL stations. What's really cool is if you have a good enough base map, sometimes you can actually make out the SNOTEL site. So let's see if I can find one here. Yeah, this is that Red Mountain Pass one. So this is actually, you can see the pad where they set up the station. You might be able to see it on other ones as well. Yep, so there's the SNOTEL. Great. So now we have to figure out how we want to display this data in a way that makes sense. And if you remember, on the website, it actually already kind of did display them in the way that I want us to do it for class. So it's classified the marker symbols based on the percentage of the 91 to 2020 mean. So let's go into the symbology and notice that we have a single symbol, so that's not going to work. So we could try categorized, which we've done before, and we could do categorized based on percent of 91 to 2020 median, classify, and apply. But notice it's just sort of applied random colors. I mean, we could try a color ramp as well. For this type of thing, I like the red to yellow to green ramp. And that looks pretty decent. Not too bad, but it's categorized every value almost. I think what works better here is to do graduated, and then we can keep the same color ramp, set however many classes we want there to be. So for example, in the online map, they've set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 classes. So we could do the same. Hit classify, and it's automatically going to assign them in a certain mode. So it does equal count quantile for right now. So in other words, notice it goes up by 3, by 3, by 5, and then by 15 here. This one goes up by 21.5. So it's doing kind of a specific algorithm. You can also do equal interval. Now these are all going to go up by 10. So I encourage you to play with them and kind of see how they change and see which one you think tells the story of the data the best. Pretty breaks, don't really like that. We don't want that. Natural breaks. I actually think that one looks pretty good. But for example, you can kind of use your own storytelling. Do we think that 33 to 41% of average deserves green, like good? I don't think so. If we did our default, then anything above 40 is good. So maybe I want to classify these on my own. We're going to say red is 0 to 15. Orange, we'll do 15 to 30. This one, just kind of lighter orange, we'll do, oh, you actually can't have them overlapping. So we're going to do 15.01 to 30. This one we're going to do 30.01 to 45. This one we're going to do 45.01 to 60. Here we're going to go 60.01 to 75. And then we'll say anything above 75 is good. So 75.01 to 100. So now there's my own range. I'll hit apply. And now we tell a different story. Now it looks like most places are bad. Most places have very low snowpack, right? So we have to be careful how we symbolize things because we can skew our data. This to me is a more accurate way up by 30s or up by 15s to demonstrate the true state of the snowpack. So most of them are not great. Some of them are better than others. That's more accurate. And matter of fact, I think this is the only site that actually has a normal amount of snowpack, and so it shows green. All right, so now we have taken our CSV, we've cut it down to a state of interest, we've plotted, we've changed our symbology to look really nice. And then the last thing we would need to do is make a map. So we've done this before, you've done this before, but I'll walk through it again. We're going to do Layout Manager. We're going to create from an empty layout, and we're going to call it Lab 6 Map. Whoopsie doops. Here's our layout. And then we're going to add our features as needed. Well, I'm not super happy with this because it doesn't tell me anything. It's very confusing. So, what do we need? What are we missing? Well, we don't have any boundaries. We don't have any place names. We don't have any labels for anything. So let's go to one of those websites that I showed you earlier. I think it was... Ooh, I don't remember what it was. We're going to search GIS data, natural earth, downloads. We'll do large scale. Oh, we need cultural. And let's bring in states and provinces. And we'll just do boundary lines. Okay, we'll make these a little bit easier to see. All right, liking this better. We can now see the state of Colorado. That's helpful. What else? What are we missing? We could leave our satellite imagery on, or we could bring in something like our OpenStreetMap layer, if we think that looks nicer. I encourage you to look at other maps that you already like and see if you prefer that. So what does this map use? This map uses a topo layer. Okay. Let's go to our Quick Map Services plugin, and we're going to search, and whoops, I don't like that. I'm going to search for topo. And add this Esri World topo layer. That's pretty nice. Can't complain. What I want you to do this week is to decide how you want your map to look. I'm not going to tell you. So you can use this Esri World topo. You can use an OpenStreetMap layer. You can go with satellite imagery. You can add rivers. You can add whatever you want. You can label. So perhaps I want to label... I could label by the site name. There's too many of them. I could label by the actual data that we're showing. That looks pretty good. Text buffer sometimes helps. Yeah, that's bad. There you go. What I want you to do is play around with settings. I want you to just see what it takes to make a map look nice to you. Okay, I think drop shadow looks nice. I'm going to leave that. I think bold looks worse. I'm going to keep it regular. Good. I think I'm going to go with the topo. All right, this is looking better. Now I can go back to my layout. I think I'm not happy with how zoomed in I am, so I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit more. And I'm going to replace my map. Perfect. Then I'm going to add some things that we know we need, right? We're going to need to adjust our legend, so I'm going to click off of auto update. I don't think we need to oops. I'm going to click off of auto update, and then I don't think we need to have our boundary labeled, so I'll get rid of that. I don't think we need OpenStreetMap or Bing satellite imagery, or really the Esri World topo. And then this I want to change to SNOTEL SWE Feb 14 2026. That's awful lengthy, so I'll put a break. Perfect. I'm going to put this right here in the corner. Sounds good. I think maybe we'll draw a background on it, or a frame, I mean. That looks nice. We'll add our north arrow. That looks pretty good. No, let's not do that. Put in a scale bar. Make that scale bar a little larger to make more sense, I think. All right, that looks pretty nice. Actually, our legend is lying. So let's change that. Percent 91 to 20 median. Sweet. Better. We're going to add a label here that says EPSG 4326 WGS 84. That way we know that information. Make that a little bit larger. I actually don't like the north arrow anymore. I think I'm going to change it to something different. That's not too bad. Kind of like it. That looks terrible.